She walked through those airport doors at 7:14 in the morning, and she didn't come alone. I'm standing at the Delta check-in counter, 2 first-class tickets to Bali in my hand, 6 months of planning behind me, and my girlfriend of 3 years walks in with a man rolling a carry-on that matches her luggage set. Let me be specific about that luggage set. Burgundy hardshell, gold zipper pulls, custom monogram tags. I bought it for her last Christmas. $600. She cried when she opened the box. This man, Caleb, had the same collection. Same color. Same tags. Coordinated. My stomach didn't drop. Something colder happened. A quiet settled over me like a temperature change. And I had about 30 seconds to decide what kind of man I was going to be in that moment. I used every one of those 30 seconds wisely. Maya and I had been together for 3 years. We met at a rooftop party in Atlanta in the summer of 2021. Mutual friend, open bar. She walked up to compliment my watch, and we talked for 4 hours straight. She was a project manager at a mid-sized tech firm. Sharp, direct, funny in that dry way that takes you a minute to catch up to. The kind of woman who said exactly what she meant. We took things seriously from the beginning, exclusive after 6 weeks. Meeting families by month 4. She kept her own place in Buckhead about a year in, but we spent most nights together anyway. We talked about marriage. We talked about timelines. We even looked at rings. Not bought anything, just looked, during a trip to New York 2 winters ago. I trusted her the way you trust someone who has shown you, over time, that they're consistent. Not blind faith. Evidence-based trust. She was the one who once told me, straight to my face, that she thought I was emotionally avoidant and that I needed to work on it. I was annoyed for 2 days. Then I went to therapy. That was the kind of relationship we had. Or the kind I thought we had. She started at her new company 14 months before everything fell apart. Bigger firm, better pay. A project lead role she'd been building toward for years. I was proud of her. The environment was high pressure, collaborative, the kind of place where people spend 60 hours a week together and form real bonds. I understood that. People get close to their co-workers. Caleb was her project lead. She mentioned him early, the way you mention a new colleague, his background, his management style, something smart he'd said in a meeting. Then the mentions got more frequent, more personal. His divorce, what he thought about a show she was watching, a joke he'd made that she was still laughing about at dinner. I noticed a shift, but I didn't assign weight to it. But here's the thing I should have paid more attention to. About 4 months after she started, she began leaving the room to take his calls. Not stepping away because it was loud. Fully leaving. Bedroom door closed. 15, 20 minutes. I asked once, "Was that Caleb?" She said, "Yeah, project thing." I nodded. I let it go. I explained it away. Because the big things were still good. And I was focused on something I thought would remind her, remind both of us, why we were doing this. The Bali trip was supposed to be our anniversary. 3 years. I wanted to do something that said, clearly, without needing words, I'm all in. I started planning in October. 7 nights at a private villa in Ubud, the hill country, rice terraces, the whole picture, private pool, a small staff that included a personal chef for breakfast each morning. I accumulated 180,000 airline miles over 2 years specifically for flights like this. I put $8,400 on my credit card for the villa. I called the concierge directly and left a note in the reservation. It said, "Anniversary trip. She deserves something unforgettable. Please make it special." They told me they'd arrange flowers and a private candlelit dinner for the first night. I told Maya about the trip in November. Just the destination, the dates, the broad strokes. She cried. Happy tears. Said it was the most thoughtful thing anyone had ever done for her. I know exactly how that sounds now. The morning of the flight was April 3rd. I got to the airport early. Maya texted at 6:52 saying she was in an Uber. I sent her the gate number. She replied, so excited. 7:14 a.m. She came through the sliding doors. Caleb was right beside her. They were mid-laugh about something. He had the burgundy carry-on. Her matching bag was on her back. They looked coordinated. They looked like they'd packed together in the same apartment. She saw me. Her face did something I'd never seen it do before. A flicker, half a second of calculation, a quick reset, and then a smile, like she'd run a fast mental simulation of how this was about to go and decided she could handle it. She hugged me. I didn't move my arms. Maya, hey, you're already here. Me, who is this? Caleb stepped forward with a confident, easy smile. Put out his hand. Derek, right? Heard so much about you, man. Seriously pumped for this trip. I looked at Maya. She exhaled. Small, controlled. Okay, so don't be upset. Caleb's company has a conference in Bali this week. And since we were already going, it made sense to travel together. He has his own hotel. Me? You planned this. Maya, Derek, it's honestly not me. You planned this and didn't tell me. She opened her mouth. I held up one hand. I need a minute. I walked to a pillar near the gate and stood there, chest tight, breathing slow and deliberate through my nose. I was not doing this loudly in a public airport at 7 in the morning. I opened my phone and pulled up our shared travel folder, a Google Drive folder she had full access to. I'd shared all the booking documents, so she could feel involved in planning her own surprise trip. Good intention. Wrong call. 3 weeks ago, she had opened the villa confirmation document. Exactly 3 weeks and 2 days before our departure, she'd viewed the full file, including the concierge notes, including the part where I'd written about the flowers. She had known every detail of this trip for 3 weeks, and she had said nothing about Caleb. That's when I felt it. Quiet but solid, not at Caleb. At 3 weeks of deliberate silence, I stood at that pillar for 4 minutes. Then I made some calls. You want to know what I found out? I called Marcus first, my boy who's worked in corporate travel for a decade. I just needed 60 seconds to think out loud. He asked me one question that cracked everything open. Marcus, is everything under your account, or did she book anything on her own? I pulled up my travel rewards account on my phone right there at the gate. She had logged into it, not just viewed a shared document, logged into my actual account. My credentials I hadn't given her, gotten from the autofill on my laptop, which she occasionally used when hers was charging. The login history showed a timestamp, 3 weeks and 2 days before departure. Same day she'd opened the villa confirmation. She had attempted to add a third seat to my booking. My miles, not a new booking. In addition to my existing award ticket, trying to get Caleb in the same first-class cabin using my miles. The system denied it automatically. The award ticket type had a 2-passenger cap, so when the addition failed, she booked him a separate economy seat under her own card. But here's the part that required my villa documents. She had forwarded my booking confirmation, the villa address, the concierge contact, the check-in details, all of it, to Caleb's personal email 3 weeks ago. He had been preparing for this trip using my reservation, my information, my arrangements. My hands were completely still. That's when I know something has shifted in me. Not shaking, just still and focused. I called the villa directly. The manager picked up on the second ring. I gave him my name and booking number and asked about any recent modifications. He paused, pulled up the file. Manager, Mr. Coleman, are you aware that a guest addition request came through 2 days ago? Me? A guest addition. Manager, yes. A request to add a secondary guest for nights 3 through 6. The name given was Caleb Osei. The request was processed as approved through our concierge email. He is currently listed on the reservation. Cold spread through my chest. Not just a separate hotel across town. My villa for my 7 nights. In the private pool villa where I'd requested flowers and a candlelit anniversary dinner. He was in there, already listed. Me? What email address did that request come from? Manager. The address on file for booking, sir. Her email. She had used the access she had to my confirmation from the shared folder I'd created for her to contact the villa and add him. She'd told me 2 nights before we flew out that she was up late, handling some work stuff. I'd kissed her on the top of the head and gone to bed. That's what she was doing. I thanked the manager and told him I'd call back shortly. He said he'd hold the account open. I looked across the terminal at Maya and Caleb, standing near the gate, close to each other, not touching, but in that orbit people fall into when they spend a lot of time alone together. She was laughing at something on his phone. She didn't see me watching. I straightened my jacket, rolled my shoulders back, walked over. Me! Sorry about that. Just a bag situation. Ready to board. She looked relieved, visibly relaxed. That was all the confirmation I needed about what she'd been expecting from me. Me! Actually, let me check. One more thing at the desk real quick. 2 minutes. I went to the counter. I had about 40 minutes before boarding closed. First call, my credit card company. I explained that my travel rewards account had been accessed without authorization and that a booking modification had been made using my credentials by someone other than myself. They opened a dispute case immediately, time-stamped my call, flagged the account. 10 to 15 business days to process, but I was protected. I said thank you and hung up. Second call, the villa manager. I told him the guest addition for Caleb Osei had not been authorized by me as the booking holder, and I needed him removed from the reservation immediately. The manager apologized, made the correction, confirmed it. Done. Then I asked about their cancellation policy. He reminded me that the full 7-night cost was non-refundable within 72 hours of arrival. The $8,400 already charged my card, already gone. But the add-on packages, the excursion bundle, the daily service fees, the private chef breakfast, those would charge upon delivery during the stay, to whatever card was listed as secondary. Maya's card was a secondary. She had insisted on adding it when we originally made the reservation. I want to contribute, she'd said. I thought that was generous. I asked the manager to remove my card from all future incidental charges, leaving only the secondary. He processed the update and confirmed the change. Third call, the airline rewards line. I confirmed that as the account holder, I could modify a companion ticket booked through my account at any time. I asked them to downgrade the companion seat, Maya's ticket, from first class to the lowest available economy seat on the same flight. They confirmed the change. 55,000 miles returned to my account. I stood at the gate counter for a moment after I hung up, took a breath. Let myself feel it for exactly 30 seconds. 3 years, 6 months of planning. That note to the concierge. The roses. Then I picked up my bag and walked back to the gate. Maya was on her phone. Caleb was getting coffee from a kiosk down the concourse. She looked up when I walked over, and I gave her the most neutral expression I had. Maya, all good? Me, all good. You know what I've been thinking. The trip is going to be fine. Let's not make this a whole thing. She exhaled like a weight had left her body. Maya, thank you. I really think you're going to enjoy yourself once you meet him properly. Caleb is genuinely a good me. I'm sure he is. She heard something in that. Studied my face for a half second. I gave her nothing. Just a small nod. Me, let's board. We got to the gate agent. Maya stepped ahead of me by half a step. She handed over her boarding pass. The agent scanned it, looked at the screen, looked back at Maya. Agent, ma'am, there's been a modification to your ticket. You're in economy today. Seat 34B. Maya turned around slowly. I was right behind her. She looked at my boarding pass, looked at hers, looked at my face. Me, after you. She caught up to me in the jetway. Her voice was low and controlled, but her hands were gripping the strap of her carry-on tight. Maya, Derek, what did you do? Me, I made some adjustments. Maya, you downgraded my ticket. Are you serious right now? Because of Caleb being here? This is how you handle it. Me, I also had Caleb removed from the villa guest list. She stopped walking. Someone behind us said, "Excuse me," and moved around her. She started again. Maya, how do you even know about that? Me, the manager reached out. I let that land without clarification. He's been removed. The villa is fully paid for 7 nights, Private pool, non-refundable. You're welcome to use it. Her, what does that mean? Me, I booked myself somewhere else. Separate accommodation. Clean and simple. Maya, so you're leaving me in Bali for a week. Alone. Me, you won't be alone. You invited someone. I paused, but if you're asking whether I'll be there, no, I won't. Maya, Derek, that is not fair. Me, you log into my rewards account. You use my credentials to try to add Caleb to my booking with my miles. When the system denied it, you booked him economy and forwarded him my villa confirmation, including my concierge note. The one about the flowers, Maya, the one I wrote for you. My voice didn't rise. Then, 2 nights ago, while you told me you were handling work stuff on your laptop, you contacted the villa and had him added to the guest list as a villa guest. For 4 nights. You did all of that, and then you walked into this airport this morning and expected me to shake his hand and smile. She said nothing. Me, the add-on packages during the stay, excursions, chef breakfast, daily service fees, those will charge to your card. You're the secondary card holder. I removed mine this morning. Per day, it's around $400. 7 days, plus the excursion bundle. If you use it, that's another $1,800. I call your bank before we land. Her face had gone completely still. Me, the villa base cost is already disputed on my end for the portion connected to the unauthorized modification. That part's between you and your bank to sort out. Maya, how much is this going to total? Me, do the math. She was shaking her head slowly, not in denial, in the way people do when something they thought they'd managed just came fully apart in front of them. Me, I need to get a first class before they close the curtain. Maya, we are not done. Me, we're not. But that conversation isn't happening in a jetway. I picked up my carry-on. Enjoy Bali, Maya. I walked forward, settled into 2A. Wide seat, pillow already waiting. Cold champagne on the armrest that I didn't touch. I don't drink before noon, but I appreciated the offer. She was somewhere in row 34. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. The flight was 14 hours. I slept for 6 of them. Ate a real meal. Watched 2 films I'd been meaning to get to for months. Somewhere over the Pacific, I thought about that note I'd left with the concierge. She deserved something unforgettable. And the gap between what I thought I was building and what had actually been happening for the past 14 months. I didn't feel angry about it anymore. Just clear. During a layover in Tokyo, she sent me 4 texts. The first one, I cannot believe you actually did this. The second, you're supposed to love me. This isn't what love looks like. The third was different. Derek, my car just got flagged. There's a $400 pending charge from a villa. What did you set up? The fourth was the quietest. I know I hurt you. I don't know how to explain it yet. Can we please just talk? I read all 4. Responded to none. When we landed in Bali, she found me at baggage claim. Caleb was at the far end of the hall, giving us space. I'll give him that. He read the room correctly. Maya looked exhausted. Economy, overnight, 14 hours. Her eyes were swollen. She'd been crying or hadn't slept. Probably both. Maya, Derek, please, can we just go to the villa together and actually talk? You've made your point. Me, the villa is yours. It's a genuinely beautiful property. I put a lot of thought into that booking. Maya, stop talking to me like I'm a client. Me, I'm tired. I'm going to my accommodation. Her, where you even staying? Me, somewhere comfortable. She grabbed my arm. Not aggressive. Desperate. Maya, 3 years. You're going to walk away from 3 years in a baggage claim in Bali. I stopped, looked at her directly for a long moment. Me, I didn't walk away from anything. You invited someone else to our anniversary trip, modified my booking without my knowledge, accessed my accounts without permission, and walked into that airport this morning expecting me to accept all of it. That's the action. Everything I've done since is a response. I set her hand gently back at her side. Call your bank about those charges. Seriously, I got in my cab. My accommodation was a clean Airbnb about 20 minutes outside Ubud. Small place. One bedroom, a wooden balcony, a rice field spread out below it in every direction. $47 a night. I sat on that balcony with a bottle of water and the sound of frogs in the dark, and I didn't think about anything specific for a long time. Then I called my sister Renee and told her everything. Her response, before I'd even finished: "She did what, the baggage claim?" The whole sentence in one breath. I actually laughed. The first real one in about 18 hours. Renee has always been good for that. She listened to the rest without much interruption. At the end, she said, "Are you okay?" "Not about the trip. About me." I said I thought I would be. She said, "Good. Now go eat something. You're in Bali, Derek. You don't have a woman to manage right now. That's a win. Go get some fish." I slept better that night than I had in months. When I got back to Atlanta, I sat down and went through everything methodically. The credit card dispute was processed within 12 business days. The 55,000 miles from Maya's downgraded ticket were fully restored to my account. The villa charges that hit her secondary card during the stay totaled just over $4,000. Service packages, one excursion booking, a private dinner she'd apparently ordered on night 2. She filed a dispute with her bank. The bank denied it. She was a listed cardholder who had agreed to the billing terms when she added her card to the reservation. No fraud claim could be made. Caleb never made it to the villa, with his name off the guest list and the situation clearly not unfolding the way anyone had imagined. He checked into his conference hotel, attended his conference, and flew home without further incident. I have no particular feelings about Caleb. He walked into someone else's story without knowing the full shape of it. That's between him and his own conscience. Maya and I talked in person about 2 weeks after I got back. She came to pick up a jacket she'd left at my place. We ended up at my kitchen table for about 90 minutes. She told me the truth. She said she'd developed feelings for Caleb over several months. Said she'd been confused about what she wanted. Said she hadn't intended the trip to be what it looked like, but she also couldn't fully explain what she had intended. She used the phrase, "I wasn't thinking clearly," twice. I didn't challenge it. I asked her one question. "Did you think I'd just go along with it?" She sat with that for a long time. Then she said, "I think I thought I could explain it in a way that made sense. I think I underestimated how much you already knew." That was the most honest thing she said in the entire conversation. I told her I wasn't interested in working through it. Not from anger. Not as punishment. Just from clarity. Some things you can rebuild from, and some things you can't. This wasn't one bad decision at an airport. It was 3 weeks of deliberate planning that excluded me from my own relationship. The gap between who I thought she was and what she'd done was too wide to close by talking. She nodded. She picked up her jacket. She left. I sat at the table afterward and made myself a cup of coffee. Went through my mail. Ordinary Tuesday. The hardest moment wasn't that conversation. It was the following week at the grocery store when I reached for 2 of everything out of habit. 2 yogurts. Pasta for 2. I stood in the middle of the aisle and held a second container for a long moment. Then I put it back. Checked out with one of everything. Some grief is very quiet. That one was, it's been 7 months since the airport. I'm still in Atlanta. My lease was up in March, and I've since moved to a place in Midtown. The kind of apartment I designed from scratch without compromise. High ceilings, a decent kitchen, a balcony facing east. Something that's fully mine before it becomes something shared. Work has been good. 2 months after Bali, I was promoted to Senior Director of Brand Marketing. Bigger scope, bigger team. More runway to do the kind of work I actually care about. Turns out that emotional clarity does something for your professional focus. I'm not recommending heartbreak as a productivity strategy, but I'll say this. I had one of the most focused quarters of my career in the months that followed. The Bali trip itself, the parts one actually got to experience, were unexpectedly good. That balcony over the rice fields. A morning I rented a scooter and drove alone through the mountains to a temple outside Ubud. No plan, no schedule. A late lunch at a small warung on a side road. Grilled fish, rice sambal, a cold bintang beer, 45 minutes of complete quiet with no one to check in with. I sat there until I didn't want to leave. That meal cost about $6. It was better than anything I'd planned for the villa. From what I heard through mutual circles, Maya and Caleb dated briefly after everything settled. 6 or 7 weeks. They ended things quietly. She transferred to a different office at her company. New city, fresh start. I don't wish her difficulty. What she did was a specific kind of betrayal, not dramatic, but deliberate. 3 weeks of knowing and saying nothing. The accessing of my accounts. The modification of something I'd built with care. That kind of calculated exclusion tells you clearly where you actually stood in someone's life. But she's a person who made bad decisions in a confused season. I'm not carrying that. Here's what I actually took from all of it. Trust doesn't live in the big declarations. It lives in the small behaviors. The calls taken in other rooms. The closed laptop. The carefully worded non-answers you accept because the larger picture still looks fine. I was watching the painting and ignoring the frame. That's a lesson I won't forget. I also learned something about how I move through conflict. My instinct is to get very quiet and very operational. That served me at the airport. Clean decisions, no raised voices, documented at every step. But that same instinct had kept me from asking the questions I should have asked 6 months earlier when the pattern was already visible. I was filing things away when I should have been addressing them. That's my work to do. I've been in therapy for 4 months now. Not crisis work. Maintenance. A good therapist who asks the right questions and then actually waits while I answer them. Worth every session. I started dating again about 3 months ago. Nothing serious. But I've been more deliberate about it. Clearer earlier, more honest about what I'm looking for. Less willing to explain away the small signals that turn out to be the real information. I'm in less of a rush than I used to be. That feels right. My name is Derek Coleman. I'm 34 years old. I'm a senior director at a marketing firm in Atlanta. I flew home from Bali in a first-class seat I earned. I used the 55,000 recovered miles to book myself a solo trip to Kyoto this fall. 1 week. No shared folder. No coordination. Just mine. The next trip I plan for 2 people will be with someone who actually wants to be there. Someone who would never need to be managed into it. That's the only version of this story I'm interested in telling again.